Many taboos might sound silly or even downright stupid when looked at through the modern lens. But in traditional conservative societies, they were unwritten communal codes that shaped moral behavior. Taboos and superstitions also guaranteed a general communal welfare, and in communities where communal life more than anything was necessary for the tribe's survival, these restrictions were even more important to ensure social, spiritual, political, and economic welfare. With that in mind, here are two great examples from different Kenyan tribes that will allow us to make modern sense of taboos. Among the Kamba, sexual intercourse on the night before a battle was thought to bring defeat and bad luck. Its importance? Well, needless to say, sexual intercourse on the eve of a demanding activity such as battle could obviously drain a warrior. Now let's go to the Nandi. Among the Nandi, engaging in sexual activities in the bush was greatly frowned upon and was believed to invite curses. In reality, however, snakes and other poisonous animals were the real threats, as they could easily feast on raunch and oblivious couples trying to have their way to ecstasy in the bush. These couples could also easily get attacked by wild cats, and sometimes even set off traps meant for game during their antics in the woods. So, with all that in mind, it makes total sense that ancient Luhya ancestors might have just pleaded mysticism as the basis for discouraging such social deviances. Now that you clearly understand the importance of taboos and superstitions in traditional African communities, we can skip to the main section of the video and look at 10 interesting taboos and superstitions in the Kikuyu community. Also, if you like the content, do not forget to smash the like button below and leave a comment, because these will help the channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. In addition to that, I share images on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram touching on different tricks traditional communities used to survive in the past. So do not forget to check me out there as well. I'll leave the links to my social profiles in the description below. Anyway, let's jump right into it. To most communities, circumcision might have seemed like a relatively simple physical act, but among the Kikuyu, this rite of passage was of crucial social importance, with complex meanings that usually affected the entirety of the tribe. On its most basic level, the process of circumcision marked the cutting away of one's childhood as the circumcised individual transitioned into adulthood. With that in mind, among the Kikuyu, an uncircumcised individual, no matter how old he or she may have been, would usually be treated as a child or inferior and lacking. In addition to that, if an uncircumcised individual had children, the act was believed to anger both God and the spirits of ancestors, which in turn meant that the whole community would suffer in consequence. A drought, for instance, would usually strike the Kikuyu nation simply because someone that hadn't been circumcised had conceived a child, and that's why this rite of passage was necessary for the tribe to maintain a good relationship with God and the spirits of the ancestors. With that in mind, if an uncircumcised man or woman broke this taboo, the usual punishment would be an exile for both the mother and the father, but the child would be allowed to remain and get raised among his or her fellow tribesmen. Among the Kikuyu, it was a great taboo for a woman to intimately come into contact with a man while she was having her periods. This was regardless of whether the two were already married or not, and if the two happened to come into contact, they will usually be taken to the community's medicine man, who would make them vomit and then cleanse them by smearing them with clay and washing their whole body in a goat's loose dung. Under the traditional Kikuyu culture, it was a great transgression for any person from the tribe to come into contact with a corpse. In fact, Francis Hall even mentions in his biography that he had to bury deceased victims himself because the Kikuyu traditional custom didn't allow for the tribesmen to come into contact with corpses. Even more interesting, just like the Maasai, the old and sickly in the Kikuyu community will usually not be left to pass away in their homes. Instead, they will usually be removed and taken to remote areas like hillsides or forests where temporary shelters had been constructed. After that, from time to time, particularly at mealtimes, family members will visit the individuals to confirm whether they were already dead or still alive, and after their death, they will usually be left behind to be devoured by hyenas. That said, not all Kikuyu tribesmen will be thrown to hyenas after their death. Rich and respected people in the society were given proper burials, but these were usually too expensive because a lot of rites and rituals had to be executed to cleanse all those involved in the burial process. If a cooking pot cracked while the food was still cooking inside it, the Kikuyu believed that the food was not supposed to be consumed by anyone in the household except ladies who were past the childbearing stage. Anyone else consuming the meal was believed to invite a serious curse upon the family. Another common belief in the traditional Kikuyu culture is that fathers are not allowed to go into their children's houses. They believe that even after the child has grown up and gotten married, it is a serious taboo for the father to get into their house. Therefore, if a father visited his daughter or son, he would usually be given a chair to sit on outside the house. Another taboo that is closely related to this one in the Kikuyu community is that men are not allowed to sleep at their in-laws' house. Even if it got too late, the man will usually have to find an alternative and ensure he didn't sleep at his in-laws' place. Why is that so, you may ask? Well, traditional Kikuyus believed in respect and distance when it came to relating with their in-laws, and this was one of the tricks they implemented to avoid any fights and create a good relationship between the two families. Let's look at one of the most interesting superstitions from this Kenyan tribe. In the Kikuyu community, they believed that evil spirits responsible for pandemics and diseases could be blown from one homestead to the next by strong winds. For that reason, cyclones were thought to be spirits probably assembling to wage a massive attack on the people. Another superstition among the Kikuyu stated that thunders were as a result of Ngai cracking his joints, the same way a warrior warms up for action. In fact, whenever a man got struck by lightning in the community, the elders would claim that he had been smashed to pieces for witnessing Ngai while he was in the act of cracking his joints in readiness to go and deal with evil. As such, lightning was seen as a visible representation of some of God's weapon that he used on ahead to warn humans of his presence. One of the most interesting taboos I came across in the Kikuyu community was this one, which stated that a Kikuyu man shouldn't marry a woman with 𝗣𝗟𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗘. This directly translates to women with red thighs. According to the tribe, these were women whose husbands will usually die one after the other a short while after cohabiting with the woman. Such women were believed to be victims of an inherited misfortune or curse that was passed down from their forefathers. Even more interesting, there was a male alternative of this curse, also known as the curse of abomination. Men suffering from the curse of abomination usually had an immensely dislikable personality, and everyone they came across seemed to hate them. Even worse, whenever these men cracked an ill-informed joke, it would usually turn out to be so in real life, which added to the hate. Their words would automatically anger those around them, and this ultimately meant that the curse was a burden in life, as they couldn't fit in any space in the community. And that's not all. The Kikuyu community also believed that such men were predetermined to pass away due to a horrid misfortune. The Kikuyu culture states that no one is allowed to close the door of a hut other than the owner of the homestead. This meant that a visitor could open the door and walk into the room, but wasn't allowed to close it. Closing the door was left to the woman of the house or her children. Number 10 was considered to be a bad luck number in the Kikuyu community. And no, it's not a coincidence that this also happens to be the 10th taboo we are looking at in today's video. Anyway, back to number 10 being a taboo. Members of the tribe wouldn't even utter the number while counting. Instead of saying number 10 while counting, they will usually say 9-4, which is kenda uyuire. What's more, due to this belief, it was also a big no to take any items in tens while paying dowry. That said, today, this taboo is only observed by the old people in the community because the younger generation has fully adopted the real word for number 10, which is ekomi. That's it for today. If you like the content, kindly do not forget to smash the like button below. This will help the channel grow and allow me to make more videos in the future. Also, if you have a topic you think I should cover, do not hesitate to leave a comment below. Thank you and see you again next week.